boy. Not going back yet.
This incident occurred at a higher education institute in Kuala Lumpur. Sarah had recently been admitted and was excited. It was her first time living away from home. She looked forward to registration day since receiving her acceptance letter. With her baggage, Sarah arrived and was assigned a room on the top floor of the hostel. As she searched for her room, she wondered about her roommate. Excited and curious, she eventually found the room. Trying to open the door, she found it locked. Disappointed, she used her keys and entered to see her roommate sleeping inside. Sarah left her alone and started unpacking. Eventually, her roommate, who introduced herself as Ina, woke up. Ina was pleasant, with shoulder-length hair and a fair complexion. They got along well for the rest of the semester. However, Ina only appeared after dusk and slept very little. To Sarah, Ina must have a busy social life. Everything was fine until one night. It was a full moon and the sky was clear. The hostel was quiet as it was late. Around 3 a.m., Sarah decided to sleep. She asked Ina to switch off the room light and turn on her reading lamp. Without getting up, the room light switched off and Ina's reading lamp turned on. Sarah felt strange but didn't question it. She thought she was too tired to notice Ina moving. As she looked to say goodnight, she realized Ina was transparent. Sarah felt uneasy, covered herself with her blanket and fell asleep. The next day, Sarah thought about the incident and felt uneasy. She remembered how nobody knew about Ina and how Ina always appeared after dusk and disappeared by dawn. Sarah went to the registrar's office to find information about Ina. Initially, the clerk refused, but later revealed that Sarah wasn't supposed to have a roommate. Sarah was afraid to return to her room that night. She stayed with friends for the next few nights and only went back during the day to collect her belongings. She applied for a room change and was lucky to get it. The identity of Ina remained a mystery. Despite being a pleasant roommate, some truths might be better left unknown. I heard this story from my soccer coach. Before the college was built, the cemetery had to be cleared, but some bodies were left behind, including under the soccer pitch. Every time it rained, crows would fly low over the pitch, even if we were training. Our coach claimed the crows landed where bodies were buried, but we didn't believe him. College camps ended early, around 9 or 10 p.m., due to disturbances in the halls when students played late-night games. A tunnel connected the hall's second story to the first, but it was dark, and something felt like it was lurking inside. A girl reportedly took her life in the changing room near the hall. The lights often went out there, and girls complained about seeing faces in the mirrors. The college eventually turned the girls' changing room into the boys' changing room, much to our frustration. We preferred changing on open ground rather than in that creepy room. One of the lecture theatres, I can't say which one, was always colder than the other three and rumoured to be haunted by a student who took their own life there. Students staying overnight for studying or camping reported seeing a pale green face in the control room. Some even felt their shoulders tapped by something unseen. These incidents really scared them. Students staying late often sat in remote places near the science labs. The stretch of road to the labs was dark, and some students saw white figures flying through the air. They ran to the study corner, leaving their bags and notes behind. There were also stories of hauntings in the containers at the back of the college near the science labs. During my uni days, I lived in a hostel that was apparently haunted. I'd heard stories but didn't believe them because I had to live there. One story was about a student who had hung himself on the 3rd floor. One night my roommate and I were lying in bed and heard a weird noise above us. It sounded exactly like someone walking up and down the 3rd floor corridor. I got up and checked the other rooms to make sure no students were responsible, but they were all fast asleep. We yelled for the night security guard, who came upstairs and heard it too. His advice? Just ignore it. So we sat there, listening to the footsteps. Then my roommate had an idea. Tape it. We sat with the recorder, wondering what was happening. Then my roommate said, "Ever heard the saying, 'Don't cry over spilt milk'?" "Yes," I replied. "Here's a new one. Don't cry over hanged men." With those words, the ceiling above us began pounding loudly. We shrieked in fear, and the security guard came running upstairs. We spent the rest of the night huddling on the common room sofa. The next day we played the tape for the staff, and it was agreed that the house was indeed freaky. Despite that, I lived there for another year. The exact place and time remain unknown, but the school was in Clemente. I graduated in July 2001. But before leaving, I learned the true stories from the teachers. Years back, the teacher's room was on the ground floor, with a back staircase for easy access to classes. However, the staircase was dark and eerie, considered haunted. Teachers working late often experienced disturbances. One ex-teacher stayed late to mark papers and update records in the computer. When she paused typing, she heard typing from the keyboard next to her, as if someone was typing exactly what she had typed, despite there being no one else there. She ignored it initially, but got scared as it continued. Eventually she packed her bags and left quickly. I was told that a teacher had taken her life on the back staircase due to stress. Now, the teacher's room is placed on the 3rd floor at the far end of the school. Perhaps the teacher who took her life wanted to help with all the work after all. This incident happened in Temasek Poly IT building level 5 at the locker area. I kept my soccer ball in my locker and had soccer matches every Wednesday from 2 p.m. into the late evenings, usually finishing around 8 p.m. One day, after a match ended at 8 p.m., I intended to keep my soccer ball in the locker. When I went up to level 5, it was silent and creepy. The lights were off and every footstep echoed. There were 2 exits in the locker area, one leading to the elevator, the other to the emergency exit. I was alone, as my friends were too lazy to follow. As I walked towards the locker area, I felt my hairs stand up, and a sudden cold breeze overwhelmed me. I tried to be quick, running to my locker and attempting to open the lock, but I kept fumbling due to my nerves. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed someone at the emergency exit door. It was rare for anyone to use that door, especially at this time. Trying not to imagine the worst, I turned around to see whether it was a ghost or an old cleaner. It was just the cleaner. I was so relieved. "Hi, boy. Not going back yet?" shouted the cleaner. Just as I was about to respond, he disappeared into thin air. The place became cold, and a chilly breeze swept through. I ran out and never went back alone again. I used to live in a dorm while in college in the Philippines. This dorm is L-shaped and has 2 wings. Where the 2 wings intersect is a study hall, which has 2 doors leading to each wing. One door leads to a long hallway with a bathroom just a few feet away. The hall has AC, so the windows are shut all the time. One late night, my roommate and I were in the study hall, studying. We were the only residents awake. The rest were either fast asleep or preferred staying in their rooms. We were eating cup noodles when I felt my bladder kick in. I excused myself and went to the bathroom down the hall. When I came out, I saw my roommate standing outside the bathroom door in the hallway, looking really scared. "I heard something," she said. "It sounded like a man clearing his throat." "Where?" I asked, not fully believing her. "In the study hall." We ended up studying in our rooms that night. I was still skeptical, telling her it was probably just a toilet flush she heard. About a week later, I was in the study hall again, this time with a dorm mate who was helping me with my math. I had all my stuff spread out on the table. We were the only ones in the study hall, which was eerily quiet around 3 a.m. Feeling bad about keeping her up so late, I told her to go to bed and thanked her. She left, and I was alone, gathering my things to return to my room. Suddenly, I heard the unmistakable sound of a man's throat clearing. I froze, trying to figure out where the sound came from. That did it for me. I quickly gathered my stuff and yelled out a string of swear words to scare off whatever it was. I've been told swearing would make spirits leave you alone. I ran to my room. A girl in my class, who claims to be a bit psychic, came up to me one day and said, "In your dorm, where you study, there's a man there." I've never told her about the throat-clearing incident, and she had never seen my dorm. Her words freaked me out. Since then, I've never studied there, alone. First, let me get the important details out of the way before I talk about my experience at this international school. The school building, from what I heard, is quite old and has had several past owners who likely used it for different purposes. The events occurred in December 2016 in a Global Perspectives classroom on the 3rd floor. I was in year 10 at the time. Being the introvert that I was, I sat by myself in a secluded corner of the class. The nearest person was about 2 to 3 meters to my left, and I sat directly next to a wall on my right. This was the first time I experienced true supernatural activity, although it wasn't the last, as other minor strange incidents occurred in this school the following year. Back then, I was a Christian and was on the fence about the existence of ghosts. I feel this is important to note. Now that we have that out of the way, here is what happened. During the first 40 to 50 minutes of Global Perspectives, things were as mundane as ever. We were working on a crucial project, and it was dull. I was ahead of the class and playing music on my earphones. Suddenly, things got strange. I felt tingles in my neck, which intensified, and before I knew it, my entire body was paralyzed. I was terrified beyond words for no apparent reason, and my throat felt like I was choking. My heart pounded. I had no idea what was happening because I'd never felt like this before. However, this isn't the strangest part. While I was in this uncomfortable state, I saw a reflection of an unidentifiable, faceless, shadowy figure gliding past me from left to right, thanks to my computer screen. As this happened, I felt a cold breeze brush past, as if someone was hastily walking by. After a few seconds, my paralysis, terror, and choking feeling ended abruptly, and I returned to normal. I had many questions about what had just happened. I looked around the classroom but saw no one behind or near me. I knew whoever glided past couldn't have been the closest classmate, who sat on my left while that thing was going right. It didn't move like a human, and its legs and other body parts didn't appear to move as it glided. Remember the wall directly to my right? From my computer screen, it looked like the figure was going to run into it, but I didn't hear anyone hit the wall. My music wasn't loud enough to block such a noise. Nobody in the classroom was standing, and no one was behind or near me. I've had other odd instances, like coins of foreign currency materializing out of nowhere, but nothing compares to what happened during that GP class in 2016. Even though it isn't my business, I sometimes wonder where that thing was heading back then, if it's still in the school, and if not, where is it now? The old Gan Eng Seng school used to be at Spottiswoode Park, but moved to Tiong Bahru this year. The old site was haunted, especially the 4th level and the technical block. My seniors shared many stories from their camping experiences, and I had some personal ones too. Last year, while looking for Jay, who had done poorly on her exam and might do something foolish, my friend and I went to the technical block's 1st floor toilet. Entering, we heard someone sobbing in the first cubicle. Assuming it was Jay, we called out to her, but there was no reply. I cautiously opened the door, finding no one inside. We were scared and decided to leave. As we walked out, the sobbing resumed, but the other cubicles were empty. A senior shared his experience during a school camp. While sleeping in a 4th floor classroom, which is dangerous after 6 p.m. due to unclean things, they were told not to stare at the ceiling fans to avoid seeing terrible things. While trying to sleep, my senior saw a white figure float across the classroom and disappear. He was scared stiff and shut his eyes. The next morning, he told his NCOs, who said he was lucky to see only a white figure. Years ago, they saw a head hanging from the fan, dripping blood. Another senior recounted a cross-country event at Mikrichi Res. No one should have been in school, but he had to return for something. In the canteen's toilet, he heard sneezing, the toilet flushing, and the door banging, even though he was alone. Walking towards the ECA room, he saw an old lady cleaner on the central staircase. It was 5 a.m., which seemed strange. After a few blinks, she was gone. This cleaner died over 20 years ago and haunted the school, seen sweeping the whole floor or walking around the ECA rooms, foyer, and 4th floor. The 4th floor girls' toilet is also creepy, even during the day, with its distinctive pink decor. Rumor has it, a girl gave birth there, and the baby died. Months later, the girl hung herself in the same toilet. Both the girl and her baby reportedly haunt the toilet. Once, when I entered with a friend, I heard a baby crying, but saw nothing. As we left, I heard a girl talking in the last cubicle. No one was inside, but there were crying sounds. Avoid the 4th level after 6 p.m. The school is now Bukit Merah Secondary School. In 1999, I was at an annual camp with my ECA in a secondary school in Toa Payoh. Like any old school, it was filled with rumors and ghost stories, particularly in toilets and classrooms. We had just finished the campfire on the last night of the 3-day, 2-night camp. campers conducted sentry duties as usual, and as instructors, we had to prowl the area to ensure no unwanted persons were around. I was skeptical about ghosts in schools, eager to prove that there was nothing paranormal. I gathered 4 instructors, and we decided to explore everywhere, regardless of how dark or sensitive the location. First, we prowled the ground floor, checking fences, classroom areas, and surroundings. We looked through classrooms with open windows and checked every tree. We reached a small hut behind the PE building and found the metal door closed. To ensure no one was inside, I used a stick to slowly push the door open, half expecting to see something. The door creaked open to reveal only cleaning equipment. Smiling at our stillness, we walked away, only to hear the door close again. We were shocked, but told ourselves it was the hinges, not daring to check again. We then checked the 2nd and 3rd floors until we reached the 4th floor toilet, a notorious ghost haunt. Every year, campers reported seeing something hanging along the corridors outside it. We checked both the gents and ladies, finding nothing. After our prowling, we sat around the campfire, discussing the apparent lack of paranormal activity. Suddenly, the only girl instructor pointed out she had seen someone looking at us from the back of a 1st floor classroom while we were on the ground level. She hadn't told us because she often had bad experiences with these things and didn't want anything bad to happen then. I immediately took one instructor and returned to the classroom. On the way, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end, but I didn't alert my partner. We found nothing in the classroom and returned to the campfire. I asked my partner if he had felt anything. To my amazement, he described the same experience at the exact location. I hadn't mentioned my experiences to avoid influencing his perception. Friends who were old students assured me the spirits were friendly and wouldn't bother us if we didn't disturb them. To be safe, we turned on the corridor lights where we had felt the presence. This time we felt nothing. Friends told me that the spirit had gone away and we should maintain the area's calmness. The rest of the night was peaceful, with no campers reporting sightings. This is not really a story, but a personal account from my secondary school years when I was in NPCC, National Police Cadet Corps. We were supposed to have a camp the next day, which was a Friday. My squad mates and I were very close to our cadet inspectors, CIs, and we came up with the crazy idea to stay overnight in the school. We all met at around 10 p.m. and headed to our school. After negotiating with the security guards and assuring them that we wouldn't cause any trouble, they allowed us to stay in the school's foyer. We bunked inside the NPCC store and began our ghost talks. Our CIs lit a hurricane lamp and started sharing ghost stories. I didn't like the idea of using the hurricane lamps because they had been taken from nearby funerals. According to some religions, these lamps are supposed to guide spirits on their path. Halfway through the stories, I noticed a figure flash across the window pane of the door. I swore I saw something and became very quiet. Some of my squad mates noticed my strange behavior and asked if I saw something. I told them about the figure and realized I wasn't alone. Those near the door noticed a figure too. After the story session ended, we called it a day and decided to sleep. Since the store was very small, I chose to sleep outside where it was more comfortable. It was a Thursday night, and I hoped I wouldn't see anything strange, as Thursday night is known for strange happenings and is called the Devil's Night by some people. Late into the night, past midnight, I couldn't sleep but was glad I hadn't seen anything. At 2 a.m. I heard thunder roaring and saw that the sky was red, indicating a heavy rain. I sat on a chair, looking around the school until the rain began. Something caught my eye on the second floor near the staff room. A figure was moving slowly from the door towards a staircase leading to the foyer. I was scared stiff and hoped to wake up my squad mate, but they were all sound asleep. The figure appeared slowly from the corner of the wall. I went inside the store and grabbed a beret with the Singapore crest, as it was supposed to be blessed. Being in a Catholic school, I started praying, hoping the figure would go away. I eventually fell asleep and was glad nothing happened. The next day I told my squad mates about what happened. Everyone laughed, except for those who had also seen the figure during the night. Hello watchers and listeners, thank you so much for watching. If you have a story to share, please send it to my email in the description below. This channel is mostly made up of stories sent in by viewers or people they know. Another way to support the channel is to sign up for my Patreon, where you can watch my videos ad-free. More perks will be added in the new year. Also, I will be adding new designs to the merch store, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you all for your continuous support. And remember,
Papa loves you.